Wednesday night, Annunciation of the Lord, Father Rob Arsenault, and it's time for the Pastor's Chat. So a bit late tonight. Sorry, coming on. I missed last week too. So we just had our finance meeting. So we just finished that up just a few minutes ago. Little problems with our Zoom account. I have three of them, and ended up on a Zoom account which is a free one, which doesn't it kicks you off after half an hour. So I had to kind of reconstitute it. So it took a little bit longer. Anyway, not a big deal. Nice to see you. Father Rob Arsenault, Annunciation of the Lord. It's Wednesday night, and it's our pastor's chat. So I usually come on Wednesday nights right about this time. Usually around 8 o'clock. And we just talk about kind of some things that are going on, or it gives you a chance to ask questions. People can chime in if they like to, and usually get notifications, what's happening. So all good, all part of parish life. So what's the news? Well, our finances are pretty good. That's good news. Like we're still we're just talking about this. Like our staff turnover was quite a lot because again, Lori retiring and Emily getting married, and we changed our contract with Net. So we had to find a new Laura who's doing faith and mission, and we've got Margot working in the front office, kind of holding that down, and Juliana back on youth with probably part-time for now, but I think that can probably grow into more as time goes on. She's still doing full-time student work as well. So Jeff and Margaret, well, BC's always one that chimes in. I guess you guys are missing home. So it's good to have you both. Yeah, it's good. Thank you for joining us in tonight. So what's going on beyond that? Well, we also have a new communications officer too. So Ruth O'Reilly. So lots of O'Reillys. And Ruth's role will be to start to package some of this communication. I think, over the pandemic, we tried to be out here. We're doing it right now, like this sort of me chatting online and trying to communicate with you all the things that are happening, but it's always a bit of a challenge. So communications is a very complicated and very important part of how we get our messaging out, like how we do, what we're doing, and how do we make that known. So Ruth's going to help us with that. So she's going to be in-house, which means rather than someone from the outside, which we had some help with that as well with James Shaw, did a great job kind of getting us through the pandemic. But now it's with Ruth. She'd be working just with us. So working on the website and our forms and our letters and everything should have good communication on it, and it should be able to move smoothly. So Deacon Mark, I think you're joining us as well. So good. Thank you. Nice to see you out there. So all good news. So that's good news. And then the ongoing construction that we've been doing, going pretty well actually. The doors are just there now. We just kind of take it for granted, but that was a big deal, And then we've just finished off the ramp. I think we're still getting the glass put in, the panels that should come in actually possibly this week. Actually, if not this week, then probably next. There's I think so. Interesting. So Jeff's saying that I'm freezing up a little bit, but I think it's a BC thing because normally when I freeze up, my little green box here turns yellow and then red. So I think it might be on your end, man. Sorry for that. It might just be, it's a long way, man. It's got 45,000 miles to get up to BC. So maybe the signal's tired by the time it gets there. That's part of it. So the other stuff that's going on is, again, I'm meeting with a few people on Friday, some people from the diocese and people that are Luann, who does a lot of our maintenance stuff, and a general contractor. We're trying to get, okay, what do we do about heating, get through the winter? Could we do something else with possible air conditioning? We're still working on that angle. And cutting I really want to put a window into the office, the new office, which is the old library. So those are all just little projects that are happening. But probably the big news, I think, was the announcement on the weekend about the Mass times. That was a big change. And I have to be honest with you, I was a little nervous about it because, again, as I mentioned, I've never preached a homily that was prorated, in the sense that it affected the 10 o'clock people probably the most, and the 8 o'clock people who are going to become the 9 o'clock people, but not so much the 5 or the 6. And I think I put a reason out there. I really thought it was important to put out the why, because as it stood, we had this one Mass that was quite vibrant. We had one Mass at 10 o'clock, which was pretty full, and I liked the music, and it was going well, and it's good. But I I really wanted to expand that, and by moving the 8 to 9, it used to be 8:30, but they moved it up to 9. and then the 10 to 11, I'm hoping those two time frames will work better. So the 9 becomes something that works pretty well, for young families. So that's good, right? So if you have young families, then you could come to that mass time. That's great. And then that the charismatic, kind of characteristic of the 10 moves into the 11. Probably a little bit more enthusiastic about that. I think Father Joshua was kind of calling people out, putting their hands in the air, raising that. That's great. That's part of the character of that mass. I think it's always been pretty lively, and I think it could even be more. I like to start praying for healings. That should be just kind of a regular thing that we do during Mass. I don't know why it's so strange that we're receiving the Eucharist, we're worshiping Christ. Why wouldn't we call out some healings and to say, well, okay, if you want to get prayed with, or he's got a sense that you want someone to pray to the Lord for? I mean, we don't know what's going to happen when you ask for healing, but we know what happens if you don't ask. Like that's the thinking or the approach to that. So I was trying to present it in that terms that when I stand before the Lord, he's not going to ask me so much, was it easy, or did you make people happy? Did you make them disciples? Did you teach people about who I am? And did you get them to teach other people? That's the Great Commissioning. Go and make disciples of all nations. And that's the part I think we have to start taking a bit more seriously in this next round, this next 5 to 10 years, where parishes that have learned to reach out and to evangelize and to ask and to be on mission, I think can kind of turn around a bit, at least hold their own in an increasingly secular age. Parishes that have not learned to do that, I think, are going to really suffer. It's just going to run out of people. It sounds crazy, when you think back, say 30, 40, 50 years ago when churches were packed, or even here where they're, Colonel By, and it was full, and the gym was full, and people were there, and it was exciting, and they built a new church, and yeah, it was great stuff. But that was 40, 50 years ago. Different time, different era. So we're going to have to make some changes. So that's kind of the vision. I always said to you, I was preaching about this a couple of weeks ago. I think Jack was in the chat saying, my vision for the parish is really to be the exception. If the general trends are ones that are kind of negative and we're kind of sliding or, heading towards oblivion, I want to be, when I go to the diocese or when people talk about parishes that are doing better, I want to be in that list. I want to be the exception by being exceptional. And then when you do that kind of vision casting and say, okay, that's what we want to be. We want to be more. We want to do things with excellence. We want to reach people that no one else is trying to reach. Then we have to set some priorities, because if we're going to do that, we can't do everything. We can do some things. Obviously, it's not just that, but I still think it's important to kind of have that ideal of okay, if we're going to do this, do it well. Keep the focus. Keep the main thing the main thing. I used to always joke about that. And then turn people loose. We're starting to see this on our staff. Like when I talk about these people, like I think it's so nice to see, Laura and Margot, Juliana, and now with Ruth, like the way they interact with each other and the way the clergy are able to do that as well, it just makes all the difference. I think it's just a really good thing, and I think it gives me great hope. Pushing that out now, okay, it's not just the staff, it's not just of the clergy, it's not this is the secondary leadership, third level leadership, right down into the pews. We are an exceptional parish. Let's be an exceptional parish. Let's do things really, really well and make Christ known. So all good stuff. So long day. At the minute, I'm a little tired. We had the finance meeting. Before that, we had executive council. And before that, it's like for me, I'm at the diocese now 2 days a week. So the mornings I find like that when I'm here, I'm doing catch up all the time and trying to get back ahead of it and back to the diocese tomorrow. But nonetheless, I think we're making headway and it's making a difference. So my good people, may the good Lord watch over, guide, and protect you. Saints and angels intercede for you. May our Blessed Mother indeed wrap you in the mantle of her peace. And may Almighty God bless you and keep you now. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Be the change you want to see. God bless you now. Good night.